Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a long awaited episode of the Ballers Podcast. I am your host, Peter the Rock, along with my boy, Jazzy Main.
Yes, sir. Back in the building.
I hope everyone's having an awesome day. Just a reminder before we start the video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, it really helps the channel. We're almost at 270 subs, Jazzy. How's that sound?
To the moon, baby. To the moon.
Let's go. So, I wanted to start off today in Olympic news, and everybody has heard and everyone's been memeing, but Team USA isn't starting off on the right foot. Yeah.
Olympic letdown. Will it
Oh,
be true?
the problem
It's
is
only exhibition so far.
that's the excuse, right? In my opinion, if you're a sports fan and you look at their starting five, you got Beal, you got Lillard, you got Tatum and Durant and Bam as your starting five. That's all means that's a fucking hard team to beat.
The
Espe-
problem with the lineup and the roster, in my opinion, is that we don't have enough experience from past players that have been there in the Olympics, like play with Kobe and with Melo. I don't know why Melo's not on that team, by the way, just because he's the elder statesman.
Honestly, I don't know
So
why.
I don't
I don't know
understand
what.
that.
I don't know why LeBron's not there. You just like literally, he's a year away from winning a ring, and he's not on the
I
Olympic
believe
team.
I do know why he's not there. I believe he's
Space Jam.
take well Space Jam. That's a big point. But I was also going to say because his son, he's really focused on how he's upbringing him and trying to mold Bronny into the player that he hopes he'll be.
And now the news came out a little while ago that Jason Tatum is not playing tonight versus Argentina. And I'll be honest, last game against Australia,
How was he looking? I didn't get to see
well,
it.
last game Lillard and Durant popped off. Everyone else had single digits. So
I feel like Tatum needs to be a good number three scorer for them in order to have some success in the Olympics.
honestly, not only that, he is the type of guy, in my opinion, that should be playing better defense. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point because he's so rangy, and like you said, in one of our prior episodes, he grew from 6'8" to 6'10", supposedly.
exactly.
Uh, And the guy like that needs to be, and on the Olympic team, he needs to be a lockdown. That's what Kobe shifted his mold into, and what he loved. And Tatum followed Kobe and really looks up to him. So if he could follow in his footsteps and become a lockdown defender, not necessarily need to be a scorer, but just a pivotal piece for the
It's funny you say
Team
that.
USA.
It's funny you mention the Kobe thing because there's been a lot of hype around Devin Booker and the NBA universe. You know, they sometimes are a little quick to pop off in terms of
Oh
just
yeah,
everything. But they've people are
following
saying,
the lead with the
yeah,
story.
people are saying that Devin Booker may be the new Kobe Bryant, but a lot of NBA fans are saying it actually should be referencing Tatum. And honestly, I would say I agree with the Tatum reference for Kobe because Tatum has the defense and the offense. Plus, he is like he's that guy on the Celtics. Like right now, Booker,
And he
he is
has been since he got there. He has the mentality more. I feel like he studied Kobe more, and
exactly.
he looks up to him
Don't get
more.
me wrong. Booker offensively has very much shades of Kobe, but defensively, it's like that was Kobe's thing. Kobe was defensive. Like you didn't. He was a nightmare.
When
He
Kobe went to the Olympics this last time, that was his main goal, and he talks about it in his book actually. About it's called the Mamba Mentality.
of
Great
course,
read, by the way.
of course.
Yeah, but but yeah, he talks about it in his book how he didn't have to focus on scoring. He wanted to be that lockdown defender. He wanted to be a pest to the other country's teams or whatever.
hmm
And he really took it to heart when he played Spain. He was cussing at I can't remember who he was cussing at. He was cussing at somebody at the foul line in their native tongue.
Oh, that's
And
right. He was speaking. He was shit talking in Spanish.
yeah,
I think it was
it might
either
not even been Spanish. It might have been
it was either Italian or
oh
Spanish, or no,
yeah.
yeah, I remember what you talked about. But it's funny you
Oh
say
man,
that because
that's a great visual to put in your head. Kobe shit talking at the line, and actually it was to Powell. It was to Powell because they were teammates, and he knew
that's
his
right.
greatness.
That's
So
right.
he was trying to bring him down essentially. And even in that clip, Kobe had to be restrained a little bit by one of his teammates. Like, yo, chill out.
Dude,
but
Yo,
he took it to heart. He wanted to be that lockdown defender. And can you imagine if Tatum puts that in his arsenal to where he don't have to be the main scorer, you know? Maybe Jalen Brown takes that step up. Where's he at, by the way? Why isn't he with the Olympic
honestly,
squad?
I don't know, and it makes me sad because I'm looking at part of the roster from the Rio 2016 Olympics. They had Butler,
Hmm.
they had Durant, they had my boy Lowry and DeRozan, they had Harrison Barnes,
They had some
they had
dogs.
DeAndre
Butler's a dog.
Jordan, Clay, Paul George, young Draymond. They had even a Melo and Kyrie and Boogie. Like this team was like, man, they won
There's
gold
no FIBA experience really on this team now
except for
besides like
Durant.
Kevin Love.
No, just
Yeah,
Durant,
Durant.
just Durant. It looks
Uh,
like and Draymond, but Draymond's old.
well,
Draymond's old.
Kevin Love's a last entry or whatever because supposedly that was his big factor of getting on the team because he
Yeah,
had the
experience.
experience. Yeah, from like what was it, '08? I guess it would be.
Man, it just shows to show you that not all the
But
time it's the
Melo, man, Melo leads like so many records for USA men Olympic teams, like 3 pointers and probably attempts and points. I don't know why they don't have him as at least on the team to mold these guys like a Kobe Bryant could.
do you think
Melo is right. I'm not saying that Melo's near the basketball savant that Kobe is, but
mhm.
as far as the Olympics, he's been there. He's got experience. He knows what they expect. He knows you know, the routine of it.
Do you think it's more of the player's choice or do you think it's might fall on the shoulders of Popovich?
Um, I feel like there's a lot of people that are in Popovich's like categories, but it's more player's choice, and like everybody kind of follows LeBron, and like at a certain level, it's like if you're that elite, you can pick and choose, you know.
Yeah, again, I love
And
Pop.
somebody like Damian Lillard, like this is a great opportunity for him to, you know, I was gonna say serve his country, but you know, play for his country and make his resume in the FIBA or Olympics, you know.
Yeah, right now, especially I think the Olympic team for the U.S. is really looking forward to getting Booker and they're getting Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton once they're done with the finals. Because I think personally, having
That would add a lot of defense.
even just adding Chris Middleton, and because Drew Holiday, you know what, right now he's kind of like he disappointed the first 2 games. He played pretty well this third game, but I think the biggest thing will be a guy like Chris Middleton because Booker offensively,
Middleton can score.
but you like his
I
two
mean,
ways.
obviously.
Yeah, for sure. But I like his two way mentality because he is a very good two-way player in all
Yeah,
respects.
I like Drew Holiday for that circumstance because they can bring him in and just be a lockdown. Let him be what he is. He can handle the ball, play great defense, and he don't have to have the pressure of scoring, but he can score.
Yeah,
Somebody like Middleton, like a big wing, that would add a lot of firepower to the U.S.'s game plan.
I think the biggest thing is the fact. I think the biggest reason for the Olympics being a little bit dissatisfactory for a lot of people too. I think it has a lot to do with the NBA and the flux because I remember the year that the 2019 to 2020 season before it started, the biggest thing was the shift in the NBA to the duo-centric one that we know right now because that was the year that Kawhi quote unquote brought balance back to the league, right? He didn't.
Honestly, I feel like the Spurs did Kawhi dirty as far as that whole situation. That's a good segue. I
But
just
no,
feel like they blasted him publicly, and for an organization that's so tight knit and so well kept,
yeah,
you wouldn't think they would put it out there like that because that's a Finals MVP for them. Say
yeah.
what you want about him, you know.
But I think what I'm trying to refer to as well is I think the NBA being in such a flux led to a lot of players not wanting to pop and say like, you know what, I'll play for the USA team. Because let's be honest, like you said, there wasn't like there's 2 guys, maybe 3, 4 guys with Olympic experience on a team on a full team, which is very rare. Like again,
Well,
I said about the picture earlier. There's like only 2 guys in that picture that are on the team right now, Draymond and Durant.
I feel like a big reason for these guys are especially this year more so than others. But I mean, it's pick and choose anyway. But this year especially, the shortened season and all these injuries and these guys don't feel like traveling the world and they need their rest basically. They want an off season. They don't like especially somebody like LeBron. He don't want to just jump straight into, let me go uh, play for the FIBA games or the Olympics because he values at this point in his career more, you know, longevity and saving himself for,
For the
the
league.
playoffs. Just, yeah, for more so for the playoffs, but but yeah, all
Yeah,
these guys. there's like the NBA finals and stuff like the playoffs in general. A lot of injuries this year. Shortened
Yes,
season. I mean, it is hand. It goes hand in hand.
I would definitely agree. You know what? And speaking of the trade talks, I know the everybody is trying to figure out what's going to be happening this offseason because not only do you have, like we talked about, Lillard being on the block, the Sixers have finally opened up and said that they're interested in Ben Simmons trade talks, which, to a surprise to no one, happened just today. But it's
The
been,
only surprise there for me is I'm surprised they didn't put it out right away. But
yeah,
I guess they're trying to hold his value. I guess, or they wanted
yeah.
to come together and talk about it.
Again, any team would want to have a Ben Simmons guy on their team, but you know what?
That's the real question. Where do we think he ends up? Any predictions on that, Peter the Rock?
He's, you know, the thing about Ben Simmons is he is definitely in a position like the Lakers were going into the 2020 season. Because in 2018, 2019, they just picked up LeBron, and in 2019 to 2020, they they didn't. I wouldn't say they cleaned house, but they did a lot of trading to get guys that would fit in the system that LeBron likes to do. So I think if you were to put Ben Simmons on a team, you need at least three other starters to be prolific 3-point shooters. Like not
See,
average, prolific.
yeah, you need a well uh, rounded shooting game as far as
Honestly,
pieces around him.
I think the biggest thing too is you need a fucking point guard. You need a Chris Paul type of player for Ben Simmons because let's be honest, yeah, he's a point guard right now. I don't think he should have been a point guard. I think he should
I
be a
feel
small
like he
forward.
needs to be playing the power forward.
Small, exactly, small forward or power forward. Like, hey, listen, if you're 6'10", almost 6'11", and you're wearing shoes as well, fucking, you got to be doing
Because
some work down low in the paint.
he plays a Giannis type game, and he's not the worst rebounder, but he's not the strongest rebounder.
But if it was
But
between
his
him and
game is
Giannis,
attacking
you would
and
have
getting
to
to the
pick
rim.
Giannis, 100%.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm not comparing them by any means.
Yeah, no, but you're kind of right too. They're almost the same size, and again,
Yeah, they play the same downhill, get to the basket, long strides.
but
But the thing with Ben Simmons, his passing makes him elite in that aspect.
I think his passing is great as well. I think my issue is he's so used to playing the point guard spot. You can tell he hasn't bulked up or tried to get stronger. He's still not, I wouldn't say lanky, but he's not a
Well,
big guy for 6'10". Like he's
here's the
not
thing: when somebody else has the ball other than him, what is he doing?
nothing. He can't do anything in there.
He's not floating around the wing, so he needs to either be at the foul line or down low banging. That's why I'm thinking putting him at the in the post.
And you know, again, we play. For anybody that doesn't know, me and Jazzy, we play 2K as much as we can without getting frustrated at it because this year's been a little bit of a sideshow Bob situation. But but when Ben Simmons came into the
Hey,
league,
what's wrong
he.
with Sideshow Bob?
But whenever someone plays a zone, I always go to the free throw line because I have a stretch big because the free throw line midi really cuts into the zone. And Ben Simmons, when he was in the league, when he at the beginning of his career, he actually had a very strong mid-range game, which he's basically phased out completely for some reason because I don't
It's
see
all
him put.
about confidence, man.
It's all about confidence, and I think Ben Simmons needs to heed Kobe's words more now than ever. Kobe said, and I quote, "If Ben Simmons doesn't get a jump shot, that's the end of his career. He'll regret it for the rest of his career." And
And that's why I'm thinking like if you put him closer to the basket, then he has to attract more eyes. You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
He has to be more worried about when he's around the basket because he can do something down there. But out on the perimeter, on the wing, at the top of the key, what is he doing? He's reversing the ball. He can drive and kick. That's great, but I don't know. I don't know if he'd be better off in a more of an upstart team or a team where it's already pieced together. Because I don't know if there's any
so,
contenders out there that's wanting a Ben Simmons.
so let me ask you: if you were Ben Simmons' agent,
Maybe the
or
Clippers.
if you had three teams and they were all, I wouldn't say one, two, three. I would say pick three teams that would be your top three. Don't number them, and I said go. What would the first three teams in your head go to? You've already said the Clippers.
Well, well, I feel like I just jumped to that the Clippers because they've got some big wings. They've got Paul George that can handle the ball. Someone to take the pressure off Ben Simmons to where he don't have to shoot. Like
Yeah.
ideally, you don't want him forcing shots. You know what I mean? Of course, he needs to work on it. But let's say the Clippers. Let's go with The Pacers, I like him in that situation.
Yeah, with Karis LeVert, that actually be a good. That's
Yeah,
especially with Miles
like
Turner.
run and
Yeah,
gun style teams, like
Miles
transition teams.
him and Miles Turner would be a devastating duo. And then you put Sabonis in there. You could put Ben Simmons at
And
the three.
this one's kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum because they're not really contenders at all. But I like him with the Magic as well.
Interesting. I think for me, if I were to
So
pick,
those are my three teams that I could see him getting pieced with, but I'm not necessarily sure that's who he'll go to.
if I were to pick like three teams that I think he would fit really, really well on, I would agree with you on the Clippers because I would pick Reggie Jackson to go to the one spot, Paul George at the two, Kawhi at the three, Ben at the four, and then at the five, you have guys on that team that can play the five spot on the Clippers like Zubac. You have Ibaka on the bench. You got some good talent. I think if
And
you were
and
to,
imagine this. This might sound ludicrous, but if you put him in a 6 man role, he might flourish in that. There's not as much pressure.
I
You come
agree.
in and just clean up.
I think honestly another team that would work really well with Ben Simmons, even though their team's pretty set right now. Think of a team like fucking Atlanta. You got like
Ooh,
you got Trey, and then you got guys like Kevin Herter that can shoot. They just got Lou Will, who's a good six man. He can
and they're
shoot.
a transition type
They
team,
got
up and
John
run and
Collins.
gun.
John
They got
Collins,
lob
who's
threats. That's a good one.
exactly because again, you got guys like John
And
Collins,
they're
but
a
beside him, like
contender.
they are a contender. And then you know what? Even if you really look at it, I think a team that's young like the Cavs would be another interesting place for him too. Because Colin Sexton, people sleep on him, and people I think this year realize that he's actually kind of he's a bucket. He plays well, like and
He's
that
got some pressure on him, and here's why I say that. Um, if they draft a guard this year, that will kind of show their direction they're going because they're guard heavy right now with Garland and
yeah,
Sexton.
that's why I would say like a guy like Ben Simmons put a couple of those like guards that don't really need to be there in the trade mix. Like you have Garland at the two, Sexton at the one, and you put at the three Ben Simmons because they still
And I
got bigs on
respect
the
all their
Cavs.
games. Garland and Sexton both are pretty cold, but it's just the direction of the franchise. Where do they want to go with it?
Yeah, and then you know what I would say even like a team like Miami Heat that would be a devastate that would be clutch
Oh,
because again I
the
think
the
if you
culture they have there alone would set
exactly
him
because
straight.
first of all you got
Like, hey man, you got to get jumper to
Eric
bigger.
Spoelstra will if he doesn't whip into shape Jimmy Buckets is whipping him into shape
Yeah,
because
then you got the head honcho, Pat Riley, like pulling the
yeah
strings.
exactly I again it's there's a lot of
There's
possibility for Ben
expectations in
Simmons.
Miami. You can't come in there out of shape.
No,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Miami's a team that, like, even right now with Tyler Hero disappointing a little bit, they still got a playoff caliber team every year, and that's a lot to do with who they decide to put on the team. And they got Bam too, and that's Bam's Bam.
They've got the talent to
They
do
have
it.
the talent. Um, you know what? Another interesting thing is I saw like again, there's the NBA. Like I said, there's a lot of spiraling different messages going around. People are
The
looking at like
rumor mill is swirling people.
that is a understatement. I've been seeing a lot of Cade Cunningham news because man, oh man,
Oh man, you just put something bad in my head, man.
the
If
Rockets,
if
the
if
first
Detroit messes up and trades Cade Cunningham for Ben Simmons, I will switch teams, bro. I'm jumping. I'm
dude,
jumping ship.
dude,
I'm
if
not.
you,
I'm not going down with the sinking
bro,
ship no
the
more. If they
dude,
if they get rid of number one pick, oh man, for Ben
I,
Simmons, I will lose it, Peter.
dude, I'm looking at the trade rumor mill, dude. They are fighting hard. The Rockets want Cade. The first report on the top stories on
Yeah,
Google,
I've read that before
Rockets
the draft.
aggressive in pursuit of Cade. And if Rockets love Cade Cunningham, but
Uh,
there's Jalen Suggs apparently just shot up the board. There's a lot of rumor mills, man. This draft
I
class
don't
this
see
year.
Detroit trading it. I don't see them messing it up. But I think Houston believed that they were going to get the number one pick, and they
Oh,
went.
they were
They put
mad.
all their cards into getting Cunningham, and it's not happening, buddy. He's going to the 3-1-3. Let's go.
Honestly, I think it would be very tough for Cade to go to the Rockets because let's be honest. Yes, he would.
It's even worse from the Detroit situation because they don't have like any pieces really. At
They
least
have,
we got Jeremy
yeah,
Grant. We
exactly.
got some dudes that can run. The Rockets are
Honestly,
just.
I don't know what the Houston
eh.
Rockets would
They
anticipate
got
trading
they
for
got Kevin
Cunningham.
Porter Jr. He's great,
Man,
but he can't do it alone.
you know what's interesting? Pete, again, I've mentioned this before, but when you look at like the mock drafts people are making about like everything. First of all, who was it? Cade Cunningham. Who? Oh no, who was it? Jalen Green. No, Jonathan Kuminga at the combine. He set a record. He shot 75% from 3 point land.
Yeah. I
Like
knew it was in
that.
the 70s. I didn't
That's
know the exact percentage. But
75%.
someone with that defensive prowess and athletic prowess shooting the ball that high, I see
Yeah.
him rising in the draft. He's for sure. He's a lock top five for sure.
And here's the interesting thing.
I think y'all are gonna take him, Pete, at the fourth spot.
Again, I don't know. But
I
here's
think
the
y'all are gonna take him.
but the thing is that's weird to me is that people are putting the Raptors picking up Suggs,
The
which
real
is
thing is like
weird
another
because
thing is like where's Houston? Where are they gonna go? I see
exactly.
them taking Mobley. I feel like they need to take Mobley. They need a good mobile big man that can step
Honestly,
out and.
if I were to pick right now, I'd pick Mobley over Kuminga unless Mobley's off the board because Raptors need a center. Raptors need a fucking center, man.
I think Mobley. Whew, that's a tough one. Who would you rather have, Mobley or Kaminga?
That's the thing. The Raptors
Ugh.
have some good small forwards. We got OG Anunoby. We picked up Gary Trent Jr. We got a lot of guys that can play that two
But
three spot.
imagine Kaminga shooting the ball well, because
That's the thing, right? If
the
we
the
give
league likes stretch fours now.
and oh, trust me, I fucking Boucher is one of my favorite players in the league, and he turned into a stretch forward this year. He was shooting almost 40% from 3 point land. But it's just the fact that we don't have a center that can rebound is tough, and
Oh,
we
you
might.
know how I like it. I like players in the old school mode that are athletic, attack the basket,
Exactly.
rebound. You know, they don't have to. I like the post players that get down there and do the work.
So again, everybody's top three automatically has Cade Cunningham going to Detroit Pistons. But
Yes, sir.
right now
And we will gladly
it looks like
accept with open arms.
right now it looks like either Evan Mobley or Jalen Green is going to go to the Houston Rockets. It's a toss up. Every single
Jalen
one,
Green's another one with a lot of talent, a lot of upside. Athletic prowess is off the charts.
100%.
I
Even
think
guys.
Mobley will go number two. The number three spot, I'm not. Who's picking number three?
So right now we have at the Pistons at number one, Houston Rockets at number two, and Cleveland Cavaliers at the three spot.
Cleveland. I
So
think Cleveland's going to take Kuminga actually. Then y'all, I think Suggs will go fourth.
there are some people
Because I
that are
think
saying
I think Kuminga's going to rise.
Yeah, people are saying that Mobley might go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which is really weird because the Cleveland Cavaliers have Jarrett Allen and they have
Bro, all
they got
they've been
bigs.
acquiring so many big guys, it's unreal.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just again these mock
I'm still
drafts.
mad we let Drummond go for nothing. By the way.
Oh, Drummond, fucking Blake Griffin. You guys, Detroit Pistons let him go for
I mean, I'm
nothing.
glad we cleaned house, but we should have at least gotten picks and like more picks, and I don't know. But he's gone, and the contract is gone, so we're looking toward the future.
It
Cade
is,
Cunningham is the man.
and you know what? It's like I said, it's going to be an interesting off season for the NBA Basketball Association. But
Oh, for sure.
again, if you click on NBA news and NBA rumors, there are just so many things that look like there was a trade package someone put together and that people were saying that might go through Wiseman and Wiggins for Siakam.
I feel like if the Raptors get that trade for real, like if that's an option, they should take that.
Oh, 100%.
A,
You know what?
a number one pick and another pick.
I think the Raptors I think the Raptors love Siakam. Again, he disappointed this year. I still think he's going to have a pop off season once he's back in Toronto. But at the same time, I really like James Wiseman and
His
Andrew Wiggins
stock's
is
kind of low right now, though.
he
Siakam,
was
that
a
is.
yeah, exactly. But I love James Wiseman. I think he's a great center. He can stretch the floor a little bit, and he's a fucking 7'2" man, big, tall man. That's good to see. And then you also have Canadian Andrew Wiggins, who played really, really well this year. So I could definitely
That'd be
see,
cool to see Wiggins come back to
and
his home.
the biggest thing is that would fill out our roster beautifully. From the because again we're probably gonna lose Lowry. I hope we don't. I think he might stay, sign, and then we trade him. But number one,
And the way Toronto plays, it's a full team effort. It's not just three,
exactly.
four guys.
Because if you get Wiggins and you get Wiseman, our starting five would be Van Vliet, Wiggins. Oh, you have OG and Gary Trent fighting for that spot, and then you have Boucher at the four, and then you have Wiseman at the five. Like yeah, there's no in my mind. There's no like You might be able to put OG at the four and Gary Trent at the three, and have OG, Chris Boucher coming off the bench. But still, Wiseman as our five would I think would be a really nice fit because Siakam can't rebound. He cannot
Shout out
pass out.
Mason Plumlee, man. He played well
He
this year for
fucking
Detroit.
man, he was a fantasy nightmare. He fucking popped off. He was getting so many stats.
Yeah, he played real well. Him and Jarrett McGrant are actually a nice combination for our front court.
Ooh, here's an interesting news article. Miami Heat can create the real super team, getting Brandon Ingram, Kevin Love, and Kyle Lowry.
I feel like that's a reach.
I feel like this is a really big
Well,
reach.
I mean, most of these rumor mills are,
Yeah,
but
but the one that's been very prominent is that the Warriors have discussed a trade with the Trailblazers for Damian Lillard. There have
you
been
know I'm hot on the Warriors, and have been for several episodes because I feel like they are a couple pieces away.
mm-hmm,
They're already got their nucleus, and they've got some. If they make some moves in the drafts,
exactly. Because again, the Warriors have two very high picks. I could see them using those to get players. And again, like I said, Damian Lillard has been a name that's popped up several times in the Warriors rumor mill.
they have leverage, that's for sure.
If you could somehow swing a 1-2-3 lineup with Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, and Klay Thompson, I
That's an
don't
all-star team,
I
bro.
do not know I do not know how that is defendable because all you
That's
got to
all the
do
shooting
is
you would
put
ever need.
two big rebounders because you have Draymond that's there to honestly, shout outs to Draymond Green because I give him a lot of flack because I feel like sometimes he's too much, but
He's
if
a
you
great glue guy,
if you put Draymond Green in that situation with those three guys, he will never shoot the basketball again, and he'll be totally happy to be Dennis Rodman.
and
But
and he doesn't have to. I
he,
mean,
he
that's
won't
great.
he won't have to. And then any five they have, they got Kayvon Looney and James Wiseman. Any five they have with those three, all they got to do is grab rebounds and put the ball in the net, like just dunk it, like get rebounds,
There's so
dunk the
much
ball.
scoring between those three right there that it would be another like as soon as they touch the ball, it's in. You know,
Now here's another question. This is
it'd be like
actually
that Warriors team with Durant, basically.
speaking of Durant. That's what my question was going to be. If somehow Lillard can get to the Warriors and there's a 1-2-3 of Steph, Damian Lillard, and Clay, would you rather have that, or would you rather be Brooklyn right now with Kyrie, Harden, and Durant as that three?
A lot of hypothetical in this, but I would still say, ooh, I think I would still go with the eastern side of the conference there with the Nets.
You think go
I
with the
just feel
Nets?
like Durant is such a powerful thing. The 6'10" guy that can shoot like that is so unguardable.
Yeah, I think
But
you meant 7 feet.
Kyrie and
Durant's 7 feet. Let's be honest.
yeah, basically, yeah.
But yeah, it's that Nets team is built. The Nets team healthy is built different. But that's the
And
problem
another
again.
thing is, I'm really curious to see what happens with Spencer Dinwiddie because he's a
Yeah.
great player for the Nets, but I'm pretty sure he's a free agent
Here's the
this
thing.
year coming.
This year, I almost forgot he was a net because he was injured most of the time, and then he was in
Oh,
the
he's been
playoffs.
putting in a lot of
And then
work
I'm like,
as far as
bro, like what
rehabbing.
in the hell? They have Spencer Dinwiddie too. They had the
Yeah,
second highest efficient
I
Joe
still
Ing.
think
Like,
that team's stacked and got a lot of damage they can do.
dude, they got Joe Harris too. Like that's crazy.
I feel
I,
bad for LaMarcus Aldridge though.
there's there's so many weird draft things. Apparently, the Mavericks Wizards blockbuster trade could pair Bradley Beal with Luka Doncic.
That would be next level.
That would be fucked. Again, I don't know. Oh man,
Because
I don't
Luca
know if
needs somebody to take the scoring pressure off of him a little bit down
if
the
you want an
stretch.
unpopular opinion, I honestly like Boban Marjanovic more than Porzingis the past year on Dallas. And the reason why is simple. Like I said, you as an NBA team need at least one big man to rebound the basketball because rebounds create offense and rebounds prevent the defense from getting abused in the paint.
I
If
feel
you
like
could
nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say if you could put Bobby and Porzingis on the floor at all times, I think that would be disgusting. But again, Boban, he has a special place in my heart because I love Big Bobby. But putting Bradley Beal on that team and even getting rid of Porzingis and keeping Boban as your starting center, I think the guys that they have like Timmy Hardaway Jr. and Dory Finney-Smith I think that five would be really nice with Beal and Lukic leading the 1-2
Well,
spot.
here's the thing though. If they get Bill, they're probably going to have to let go of Timmy Hardaway Jr. and possibly Dodo Smith.
Oh, sorry, my microphone cut out. Say that again.
I said, here's the thing though. If they get rid of if they get Bradley Bill, more than likely they're probably going to have to let go of Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dodo Smith. But
Yeah. Again, it's just
I don't see them letting go of Porzingis though. Just strictly based off of what Mark Cuban said about comparing them to Nash and Dirk and splitting that up and how he messed up. And I feel like Mark Cuban's a man of his word, but Cuban's also somebody that changes with the times.
Yeah, that's a fair point. If you were to say five teams in the NBA this year that are most likely to pursue a huge change in terms of either one or many players, other than the
Like
Sixers,
making a big leap from where they
yeah,
was last
like
year.
other than the Sixers are already going to trade Ben Simmons, and that's going to be wild.
You
What are
mean
like
roster wise or like win
I would say
loss or
if you were to pick like five teams this year that you think are going to like pop off in the off season and just either completely change it up or do like one super blockbuster deal. What are like five
well,
teams?
just as far as like the most changes to their roster, I feel like the number one go to is going to be the Lakers, just strictly based off of how the postseason ended for them, and they got a lot of pieces that I feel like will be moved, and LeBron is, he's pulling the strings there. We know how he moves with that. Um, who else? Philadelphia, of course, with Ben Simmons. So that'll be a big switch up. The front court will look a whole lot different. Probably moving Seth Curry to the point guard.
Honestly, I don't mind Seth Curry being a point guard. I feel like he'd actually be really good at the point guard spot because he just got that.
Uh,
He's got
he can
good
score
shot.
with or without the ball, so that's the
Exactly.
big thing. So I feel like Detroit's going to take a big step up as far as their wins.
I
Like,
think if you get Kane Cunningham on the Pistons, I feel like more players would be like, "Oh, the Pistons! I don't mind playing there." Like, hey, that's sweet. Like, let's go. You know.
yeah, it's more of a sexy destination, so to speak. But I feel like like K Cunningham gives us an extra 10 wins easy.
Oh yeah, his wins above share are going to be absolutely his wins above replacements are going to be are going to be disgusting. It's going to be wild.
One team I got an eye on for this year coming up is Denver, because they're pretty set right now. What do they do in the offseason? What do they do in the draft? You
Oh
know,
man, you're tugging at my Jokic strings, man. You know I love Denver. Has quickly become like my top three teams in the NBA.
they're fun to
Honestly,
watch, that's for sure.
honestly, if the trade they did with Gary Harris for Aaron Gordon was a great trade, I think Aaron Gordon this year, whether it's because of COVID or because of just whatever, I feel like he underperformed in the playoffs severely, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. But I think if you're the Denver Nuggets right now, I think you don't touch anything because you have Jokic
I
who's
was
coming.
just gonna say that actually, Pete. I feel like they're in a great space. Like they can't really go wrong because as long as they don't get rid of what they have and they
Exactly.
add, they're not really messing anything up.
You know
But
what?
they move somebody like a Aaron Gordon or
Exactly. Not only like, and also you have a healthy Jamal
they just
Murray.
need depth
Yeah, if
basically.
you have a healthy Jamal Murray, that team makes it to the Western Conference Finals. Not only that, their back their backups overperformed in the first round and then underperformed in the second round. Like Monte Morris and Facu Campazzo, those are two guys that like nobody knows, and they put
He'll
in
be playing for Argentina tonight, by the way.
exactly. And you were saying that, and then like Austin Rivers, who nobody wanted with a touch with a 10-foot pole, he goes in the first
Even
round.
the New York Knicks dropped him.
Like, and then when their two biggest guards, like their two biggest named guards, got hurt, Monte Morris, Facu Campazzo, and Austin Rivers stepped in and beautifully performed, along
Yeah, I
with
feel
a.
like Austin Rivers played well.
And then you put that with MPJ, the way he was playing. He was playing like he could have been the Finals MVP if that was like a
And they've
Finals
got them
matchup.
the unicorn type players. They've got Michael Porter Jr.
Michael
and
Porter
Bol
Jr.
Bol.
Freaking
And if they
shooting guard,
continue to
6'10".
draft these guys that have high
Like
potential value,
it's tough. It's gonna be
if
tough.
they, well, that's what I'm saying. Like if they draft guys that have high potential, that's a good thing.
Exactly. And then again, even Aaron Gordon, right? Like Jokic makes everybody he plays with better. Like Jokic is the type of player. He drops a triple double not because he wants the stats, but because
Point
he
center.
he sees the open man, he hits the open man, and he gets the open man a bucket. And that's how a point guard plays. But it's just it's really hard to undervalue the Denver Nuggets because they have a solid 8-man rotation. A little guard heavy on the bench, and you know what? They could have a couple, maybe like one more bigger threat at the center spot other than Jokic. Because again, they got rid of Isaiah Arnstein. I think now they got JaVale McGee. No, did they get no? I forget who they got, but that team, if they can work hard in the offseason and get Jamal Murray back and him perform all year healthy, they could be a number one seed in the West. Easy.
Yeah, and imagine if they get a good steal in the draft that helps add them depth in the either way they need a little bit more
And
of a punch on the
people forget the
bench.
Nuggets were the ones that got Jeremy Grant. They had Jeremy Grant and then they traded him. Like they know how to pick. They also had your boy Mason Plumlee on their team too.
Mm-hmm.
So like they know how to draft players. Like they know what they're doing. I think if they can have a good off-season workout and they can get everyone back healthy, they are a tough team to beat. And they
Yeah,
could,
I feel like they need to be watched out for in the West.
yeah, for sure. Here's another question. Speaking of teams out in the West, is not Paul George. I was thinking Paul Millsap. What can the Jazz do to possibly improve their chances?
That's a good question. Like, what can the Jazz do to get over the hump? Because they've got depth. They've got they've got wing scorers. They've got defense. They're well rounded. They they can't just bring in some superstar into the Jazz and without messing up their nucleus.
Yeah, because
So they
again,
have to draft these guys that can integrate well and play in a system.
going back to Denver, right? Denver, if you look at their lineup, all the guys they have are perfectly fit for the system that Denver plays. Like even if you look at the back end of their like bench, they have guys like Jamichael Green. They have Paul Millsap. By the way, Paul Millsap, I have mad respect for Paul Millsap because he was like 4 or 5 years ago almost like a wash. Like he was done in Atlanta and like nobody heard from him again.
Oh
He's
yeah,
been
he came
playing
into the league as an old rookie.
valuable. He's been playing valuable minutes and getting valuable points on a Denver Nuggets team. He was playing so well in the playoffs. And then like you have guys they did have JaVale McGee, I was right. Monte Morris, Will Barton, Austin Rivers, like you said, Bull, Falco Compa. Like they got a solid, almost like a 10-man rotation actually. If you look at it, like they got
And some of
Jokic.
these teams play better that way, like Toronto. They're
Yep,
a huge rotation. Denver, the Jazz,
and that's the
and
best thing.
that works for them.
And that's the best thing too, because let's be honest, there's team like when you look at a team like a super team like the Nets, they have they have a significant amount of good talent, and they do have some depth. They have Joe Harris, they have DeAndre Jordan, they got good players on their team, and then Bruce Brown popped up out of nowhere. But if one or two of the guys don't perform, they're not getting a win.
And it
Whereas
helps when you can throw fresh bodies at
exactly,
a super team like that and not miss a beat. When you can bring a Jordan Clarkson in and score at the same type of capabilities that your starting five does, it's really nice for luxury.
what a name, Jordan Clarkson. He earned a lot of
Had a
respect.
great
He
year.
earned a lot of respect in the NBA this year because, like I said, he was
He's
a
also
guy.
one of Kobe's proteges.
Yeah, he was a guy like, especially like a couple years ago, people are like, oh man, he's not really like he kind of just bouncing around.
He had a decent year in Cleveland, or a couple years in Cleveland, but
But like this year, he
not
was
as notable as he is
hitting
now, for
it.
sure.
Now, do you think some players that hit it like that? Do you think it's because of the bubble esque type of play, or do you think it was just because they that was their moment and they took it?
Him specifically, I feel like he thrives in that role, and as well as the system in Utah. Like we were just speaking on the systems that certain teams, like for example, the Spurs are another team that play within these system type, play styles. But I feel like he flourishes in that, and as well as the roles come in, be that scoring punch off the bench, and do your thing. Stick to your strengths basically.
Yeah, because the reason why I asked is because I think one of the biggest things I don't think a lot of people have actually talked about, and I've noticed this a lot. I feel like this year was so interesting because when you have fans in the audience, and we've seen it now at the end of the year when we've had more fans in the audience, but for 3 quarters of this season, there have been little to no fans in the audience. And I feel like for some teams, that actually helped. Don't get me wrong, a lot of teams, like especially the Raptors, they suffer a lot from not having fans in the crowd. Raptors not having fans really hurt them, and especially being in Florida, not in Toronto, that really sucks for a team like Toronto because that's what their fan base is huge and loud and aggressive and loves the team. But then there's
From
teams
what
like
I've
the
read,
yeah,
oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead,
No,
Pete.
you first.
From what I read, a majority of these players say that basically that not having fans is a big factor because they don't have to focus on the fans. They don't have to focus on what they're saying. They don't have to focus on how loud the arena is. They can
Yeah,
tune into their game more.
but that's the thing, right? Like, do you think that not having the fans has teams like, let's say the Knicks, for example, and a Julius Randle type player? Do you think him not having fans in the audience is a big reason why he popped off this season?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
Do you think do you think that Julius Randle do you think he played so well this year because of lack of fans in the audience?
No, for somebody like him specifically, I follow him a lot on Instagram and the trainers that he used, which is this dude named Tyler Relf out of the I think it's Southwest Texas area, because he's from Texas, but so is that trainer. Well, anyway, he put in a lot of work this offseason to expand his game, and especially to become, their main guy, their go-to scorer, a stretch four that can shoot the ball. His jump shot percentages have went up tremendously.
But again,
The
like
numbers don't lie. I feel
the
like.
I agree. At the same time, people said that about Ben Simmons a lot. People were saying that he was in the gym working on his threes, blah blah blah, and then he comes into this year, and he kind of just kind of performs the same way he has been playing his whole career.
Well, I feel like he's been playing the same way his whole career, but the difference is he had a lot of spotlight on him specifically because Embiid wasn't playing bad by any means. So, and he's the other big time guy in the playoffs with the light on him
Yeah,
specifically,
but here's the
and
other thing
it's
about
it's
Embiid.
shine. It's more under a microscope basically.
Speaking of Embiid, that was going to be my next thing. Do you think Embiid, because Embiid for a long time in the season was in MVP candidate conversations, do you think Embiid not having fans in the audience made him a better player? Because personally, when I look at Embiid, I find him very, very emotionally charged, and you can see it when he played in Toronto the year after he lost to them in the semifinals, and he came to Toronto, and he was like, people were like, "Oh, what's he gonna do? This is his first time back." Because the last time he was here, he walked off the floor crying, and he drops 0 against a fucking old ass Marc Gasol. And then, like this year, there's no fans in the audience, and he performs really fucking well. Like he performs amazing because I think
Here's Go ahead. Sorry.
no, because I was saying because he's an emotional. I think he's an emotionally driven player. So I think him not having fans in the audience made him more level-headed and less
Yeah,
spontaneous and
that's a good
crazy.
point.
So my question is, does that apply to some of the NBA players this year that had a really good, if not career season?
I feel like that may have applied, like specifically to somebody like Joel Embiid. But here's the real thing: it's not a bad thing to be an emotional player. The thing is, how do you respond to your emotions? You know what I'm saying? If uh, if you don't respond well, and everything's negative, then of course it's going to affect you negatively. But I think as soon as Ben Simmons leaves, because like you said, Joel Embiid had a MVP caliber season in a lot of aspects. But I feel like as soon as Ben Simmons leaves, no matter what they do with him, I feel like Embiid's game will suffer. I don't think he's going to be as dominant.
You think is it because of the bond he has with Ben Simmons, or do you think it's just because of like just the way they've developed their style of play together?
Exactly the way they developed their play style together because they were so dynamic, being a big point guard and a big center that can step out. Because Embiid stepping out cleared the lane for Ben Simmons more, you know. But
Good.
the dynamic they had worked to an extent,
But
but
here's
it
the
just
thing though.
happened to, you know what I'm saying, blow
No,
up.
for sure. But I would say this as well. if you look at Stephen A. Smith, like I wouldn't say ignore the past month of Stephen A. Smith bullshit because he's been on some types of drugs that nobody should ever be on.
I like
Oh,
Stephen A. Smith, but
he's
his
been
whole
on
thing
some
is getting a reaction.
yo.
Yeah, he's got to get a reaction one way or
To
another.
like to quote himself, "Who was on crack?" Because the man like he sounds like he's been on crack. He sounds like he's been Lamar Odom, but he said it really well. Ben Joel Embiid should be the best post player in the world. He should be the most
Exactly.
dominant big man on planet Earth, and he plays from the 3 point line consistently
Well,
too much. Ben Simmons leaving. Do you think he'll be? He'll think he'll live up to that hype?
the thing with Embiid is he's so skilled to be a big man. So him finding that balance of how to use his skills and display his skills without taking away from his dominance. Because sometimes that's what it does. He wants to be out there on the wing, shooting, like being the trailer on transition, for example. He wants to catch the ball and shoot the three and from a trailing position. Like those are things that are good that he can do, but it's kind of like Giannis. Like why shoot that three when you know you can get to the rim?
Yeah. So
It's like settling in a sense. You're helping the defense and you're making it easier on the defense because yes, we know you can shoot the three, Joel, but get your butt in the paint and do what you know you can do.
so you
Use
think
that fadeaway.
so you think
Drive down there.
yeah, so you would say like it's almost like the era of ball we're playing is almost preventing Embiid from reaching that kind of status.
Somewhat, yeah, because he wants to go with the times. He wants to prove to, and it can be to his downfall because he's trying to prove that, oh, I got this skill in my bag. You know, I can shoot the
Yeah.
three. I can be versatile on the wing. Well, it's not so much that we question that, Joel. We question your dominance, man.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like I said,
I don't mind that you're emotional, bro. Just show me that you're dominant and can be that dominant force that, you know, I'm not saying he's got to be Shaq, but I
he
don't
should have
expect
shades
him
of
to be
Shaq.
Larry Bird.
He should have shades of Shaq. But I agree, he should have shades of Shaq. Like if you're again, you could put Joel Embiid in the category of he could be and should be an incredible back to the basket big. He could be because he's large. He's got good post maneuverability. He has good footwork, and he has honestly he has very good IQ for a guy that hasn't been playing ball his entire
Exactly.
career.
And a big thing too is that differentiates him from Shaq is that skill level, is that touch. He can shoot, he can knock down free throws. If he would just be dominant and get to the line as much as a James Harden does, this man's going to average 30 some points.
Yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with the systems that some of these guys grow up in terms of like playing because when you go to like a state's basketball training camp, if you're a center, you do center oriented drills. If you're a guard, you do guard oriented drills. Hello, Danko. How's it going? Everybody meet Jazzy's dog Danko. He's enjoying this in the podcast today. Hello, Danko. But what I was trying to say was when you look at like a Joel Embiid player who's a center, and a lot of his training that he did, obviously because he started at an older age, he did a lot of training in the states, and in the states it's all specialized. Whereas in Europe, they train basically all positions the same. They train centers to be versatile. They train point guards to be versatile. Do you think that the league should take notice of that, or specifically organizations like youth basketball, and instead of training centers to be center esque, do you think they should start training big men to be like that all around Jokic type of player?
Well, honestly, I don't think there's no need to take notice of it because that's what's beautiful about today's game is it's shifted so much. It's a good paradox because like it's good for the game, but at the same time it's bad for the game because these kids they want to be Steph Curry and they're not working on the fundamentals as much.
Yeah,
And some of these big guys, they're more prevalent on the wing now, and when they're young, they don't learn any post moves. So
yeah,
it's a balancing act. But I do feel like the game's progressing in the right direction as far as these well, the term nowadays is called unicorn.
yeah.
You hear that with somebody like Porzingis. There's several guys coming up like Chet Holmgren,
Nikola,
who just won
Nikola,
the.
Nikola Jovic, right? That's
Yeah,
the new Jokic. Just one letter off.
he's
If you don't,
also Serbian, which is crazy.
which is wild.
But there's some guys coming up that they're 7 foot plus that can handle the ball. They can shoot the three, and it's impressive. But at the same time, like these big guys need to be prevalent in the paint. I feel like.
because again, like it would be amazing to see more guys like Durant. Because let's be honest, Durant's like 6'11", 7 foot, but it's almost like you're taking away part of the game to give it to another part of the game. And uh, like
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
look at some of the best plays of all time, it's a big man dunking on another man, like boom, like just aggressive
I
and
miss that dominance of the back to the basket game to where the refs let them play a little bit more. You can beat and bang down there a little bit without these tic
yeah.
tac fouls.
Have
But
you ever?
if Joel Embiid takes advantage of the way that the league is played now, where it's so tic tac foul, if he just gets down there and is more dominant, then he'll become something that is hard to stop because he's getting to the free throw line so much.
I think Shaq. Again, speaking of Shaq, and I've mentioned this to you before.
A real game changer, Shaq was.
Shaq went on an ESPN interview called "The Decline of the Big Man," and he said it best. And he, again, people might say it's a little bit cocky, but I 100% believe him. Shaq said that when he got into the league, there was so many bigs. He was competing against big men like David Robinson, like Akeem Olajuwon. Like there was just talent at the center spot. Big men
Oh yeah,
dominating,
and he dominated.
and he
Yeah,
dominated
if anybody out there has looked up YouTube videos of Shaq, one of the best dunks I've seen him do on there
undoubtedly
is when
right.
he. Well, of course, Dudley was a great one, but I'm talking about somebody with like all star caliber talent. When he dunked on David Robinson in the All Star game, it was unreal. Like
It's
Shaq dominating somebody of that caliber. This is the Admiral now.
yeah,
This is the Mr. Quadruple Double 71 point game Admiral, and Shaq made him look like a middle school center.
because again, the reason why I mention this is because in the interview, which is called "The Decline of the Big Man," is because he was so dominant and he played longer than he played later than David Robinson. He played in the 2000s, almost in the 2010s. What he said was, as he played more dominant, the center position started getting further and further and further away from the paint to
Oh yeah, Dirk
avoid.
Nowitzki kind of you know got that ball rolling. But
Yeah,
this paradigm and shift in the game was really brought on by Steph Curry because in the early 2000s, the game was not this, you know, shoot as many threes. The mid range game, excuse me, mid range game was way more prevalent. Steph Curry changed basketball for better and for worse at times because, like I said, some of these fundamentals are getting lost in
yeah.
translation.
But yeah, it's always tough, and I think there's been a commercial about it. What do you like better, a dunk or a three? And I think this year,
I would
honestly,
love to see a like an American or well a worldwide poll of that.
yeah, because again, you know what? I think it's situational,
Me
but
personally, I'm a dunk guy, but
I am too. I love a good dunk, but the problem with that is now watching Lillard and Steph,
oh,
it
it
almost
becomes
makes you
video game like
it
unreal
almost makes
to
you
see
want
what
to
you're seeing.
it wants you you want to just you can't do anything but just be like, what the fuck? Because it's a dunk, you need to jump. You need to be able to jump. Timing is really important. But at the
When
end,
these guys are launching the ball from 40 feet,
from
with
40
the
feet,
beautiful arc and it just nothing but net, it's
exactly.
something to behold.
Exactly, because again, with a dunk, you can practice a dunk, and at the end of the day, a dunk, you have two hands or one hand at the rim, and you're dunking it
Of
from
course, a
point
6'8"
blank.
guy can slam the ball in, through the
Exactly.
hole. But how many players can step out to 40 feet and make it look like a foul shot?
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's like the noise. It's even the noise, right? There's a specific noise when a dunk. It's that rim going clunk, and it's satisfying. You're like, oh, that's a good dunk. But shooting from that far out and hearing nothing but net, that swish is just like it gives you. It's like ooh. It just looks clean, and it just
We
makes
love it, folks.
again. It's so good, but like you said, it's a turning point. And I think the league was definitely for it because when you're an
The league
NBA,
is for up tempo
more
scoring,
points means more viewers because people like to
more
see
money, baby,
150
more
point games
points,
that are
more
lit.
money.
But at the
I
it
want to see
also
150-point games,
it
triple
also
overtime.
I think it also when you have a game that's defensively minded, I think it also puts a bigger like whoa, this is a really good defensive game. Because before the in the 2000s, games under 100 points was no big deal. Now it's like games above 100 points is like nothing. But when you
The
have a game
norm.
that's like 70 point at the end of the third quarter, you're like, wow, this is like
And
a really
some
good
of these
game.
games are getting to where it's almost like 70 points each at the half, which is crazy. You know, when it's 50, like 50, 60, 70 points at the half, that's entertaining.
100%. And you know what else is entertaining, everybody? For us, it's going to be you guys following us, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button.
Subscribe to us.
You know,
Show us
we
some
want to
love,
hear
y'all.
your feedback, your positivity. We really like to see the likes on the videos. That's going to be all for us today. I hope you guys liked the video. This one was a big one. We got through a lot, but
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you guys have a blessed day. Again, Peter the Rock, Jazzy Main, the Demon.
Oh, yeah. God bless y'all.
Before we wrap it up, if you guys want to see some highlights of our 2K, let us know in the chat because we're definitely not lacking for those. Everyone have an awesome night, and we'll hit you guys up soon with another video. Peace, everybody.
Peace.